Hello there. This is a tribute to Matt Sterling, star athlete in football and baseball from Thomas Jefferson High School, Denver, Colorado, who was recently inducted into the Hall of Fame for that school on September 19th, 2015, along with several other outstanding athletes from that school. Hello, everyone. This is Sarah Donahue Sterling. And when we met recently on that wonderful evening, I realized it wasn't enough to say about my late husband. Some of you know his athletic accomplishments, and some of you don't. So I would like to talk about that. But I would like to share with you about how I knew this man from his heart. And I knew his heart to be a good man. I knew his heart to be a good father. I knew him to be fun to be around, passionate to be around, and a great sense of humor. The man with the sterling silver arm, as he was often called in those years, was peerless. As quarterback on the football gridiron and pitcher on the baseball diamond. Being all-city, all-metro, and all-state in both football and baseball for 2 years in a row, as quarterback on our football team, leading us to the state playoffs, junior year of high school, and setting an offensive yard record senior year, 1,390 yards. That record stood for years in Denver prep history. Was quite an accomplishment. 1,222 yards of that was passing. He was absolutely fabulous, just untouchable in setting records for offense and particularly in passing as a high school athlete. As a premier pitcher for our twice-honored State of Colorado baseball championships, Matt ended the 1967 season with a perfect 27-0 win-loss record. That record is untouched. It still stands in the annals of Denver prep history. It was a fabulous record, and they've got more high schools now, so people can win more games. But it was just a perfect record. So he was really proud of that. I remember after winning the state championship, that second time, end of senior year, they gave him the game ball, and he was showing it to me. We were so excited about that. Much of the success of those outstanding baseball and football teams was the important leadership roles that Matt played. Quarterback and also the premier starting pitcher on the baseball team. All of these were wonderful accomplishments in themselves for Matt individually. But the one honor that was bestowed upon him that was probably the greatest and most coveted of all was Matt was nominated for the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, along with 2 other athletes. College offers, end of senior year, and Matt is this outstanding athlete. And he felt that he could probably have a better chance of going farther if he decided on baseball rather than football. In those days, they thought quarterbacks should be bigger. So, and although Matt was the outstanding quarterback in the entire state, that was the feeling at the time. So he was thinking along the lines of a baseball career. And sure enough, here comes the Air Force Academy that wanted to recruit him. Matt was very pleased with their offer, as they wanted him to play football and baseball. So he did consider that. This was quite an honor. The Air Force Academy chooses 2 people from each state each year, and also 2 reserves. And Matt was one of the reserves chosen. So this was quite an honor in itself. However, he didn't want the military lifestyle. Vietnam. He wanted to go more than anything to Arizona State University, because at that time that was the best baseball college in the entire country. So there was, kind of an eye out for an offer from them. However, they didn't call. He had another call from the University of Wyoming, and very generous, scholarship offer from Wyoming, and Matt ended up signing his letter of intent to go to the University of Wyoming. Sure enough, as irony in a life would have it, not 5 days after he'd signed his letter of intent with Wyoming, Arizona State University called and offered Matt a scholarship. So there you have it. But Matt's integrity prevailed. Another great quality about this incredible man, besides being a great athlete. And he honored his letter of intent to the University of Wyoming. There's one thing that I would like to say here about Matt, and that is, being quarterback, he got probably more press and coverage in the news than the rest of the team did. Also, same thing with being pitcher on the baseball team. But another a wonderful quality about Matt was he was always the first to say that if the line wasn't there blocking for him, and Bob Maston and Roy Wilson weren't down there catching the passes, then it wouldn't have mattered. This is a guy who was completing 50-yard, even 65-yard passes in high school. Absolutely unbelievable. And there are so many great athletes, outstanding athletes out there. But he was one that was the first to recognize that it was a team effort. And yes, he was incredibly outstanding. Star on that team and in the whole state of Colorado. But if he didn't have the backup of the whole team. Okay, end of high school. The first part of the summer brought, Matt was drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals in the 5th round of the amateur draft. So he could have done that. The summer of 1967 was incredibly exciting for him too, playing American Legion baseball. A lot of the guys on the state championship team played with him, and they took State of Colorado championship. How cool is that? Went over to the regional championship in Orange County, California. And this was against Team California teams, Hawaii teams, New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona teams. So stiff competition at that tournament. They prevailed. They won region. And that earned them a berth in the World Series in Memphis, Tennessee that summer. At the Hall of Fame dinner that inspired this video that I'm doing for you today, there was also some words that I will share with you from Matt's younger sister, Margie. And it was, this is a beautiful tribute to her brother. My brother was a class act, and his athletic abilities were unmatched in his high school career. I can remember when strangers heard my last name, they would ask, "Are you Matt Sterling's sister?" Despite all of this, I never saw this adulation go to his head. He worked hard at his sports and took them seriously. He won so many championships and so many athletic struggles. Unfortunately, he was no match for the disease of bipolar disorder. His was a valiant and lonely struggle against a disease that was not understood or treated at that time. He will always be my hero, both on and off the field. And in addition to her wonderful words, I would like to state, many of you know athletes, but you never know what they're going through. You just don't know because you just don't know. And it makes a difference. Many of you are now coaching them, and many of these that they coach, you don't know if they're on the medication or not. Sometimes they do, and they can talk to you about that, and they can tell you about their other team. Simply, it's like your team members. Your team is your doctors, and your team is to work with you on both sides of it. If you have an illness, work with your doctors. If you have a condition, and it doesn't have to be bipolar, it can be anything that is involved, because there are also injuries in sports. Because my late husband didn't know to work with his other team. You not only have your sports team, but you have your doctor team. You have the both of them, and the importance of working with your doctor team. If my late husband had worked with his medical team as well as the sports teams, he would have lived a much longer life. But he forgot about his other team. So don't forget about your other team, because he thought he could control it himself. And this is a misunderstanding. This is a misunderstanding that a lot of individuals make when they become ill or injured, that they want to self-manage. You know, when a team works together, the team is superb, and they become the champions that they are truly meant to be. But when you have an illness, you have other people that want to champion you, and that is your medical team. So don't forget about them. They are there to help you as much to succeed in life and to succeed in dreams as your sports team is. And it's just as important as your sports coaches. Because you have the understanding about dedication and the team, and the other team is the medical team. So this could help many out there who have a condition. As medical science got better and better, and Matt didn't know that, but he could have actually lived a relatively normal life. But he didn't know that. And he was impatient. Matt just wanted to get on with things. Matt would want me to share this with you. He's talking about working with the other team. That he did. He forgot about working with his medical team. And he loved this game so. And just thought he could control it himself, which of course he couldn't. But what turned out to be the last summer of his life, he didn't know that, of course, at the time. He was just 27 years old. And his love of the game and love for kids was exemplified. He was coaching youth baseball down in Colorado Springs where he lived. You know, they're at such a young age, he was already giving back. But so many of you who are now coaching, and how many of you know out there the very people that my husband knew? How many are out there who started off, who are now in professional sports, who know the same people that Matt knew? And they are out there professionally now being coached by the people that you know. And they're not paying attention to their medical team. That's why they end up with all sorts of problems. And they're self-medicating, getting into drugs, and the police. And careers are ruined because they didn't know to pay attention to their other team. Your sports team coaches you in the sports. The medical team coaches you on your health. How many of these can be paying attention to it right now and perhaps hearing this message that is inspired by my husband? This is the message that Matt would have wanted sports players to know. Never forget that you are not alone. And never forget about your dream. Never give up on your dream. So this is the message that Matt would want sports players to have. Don't ever think that you are alone. You have your coaches, and they are there for you, both your sports coaches and your medical coaches. They are there for you to coach you into health. Let them do it. That's what they're there for. Thank you for listening. It means so much to me that you did. And more than that, it means a lot to him, because I know he's also listening. So my love to you, and my love to you always.